Hello, welcome to episode 7 of Soar and Pair. Why not together?
Why not together?
Why not?
Why not?
Episode 7. So, you want to get started?
Well, absolutely. I think one of the things we want to talk about and kind of circle back to what we did in episode 1 was, why are we doing this? What is the purpose of our YouTube channel podcast? And so, why don't you talk a little bit about Soar and Pair?
Okay. So for Soar and Pair represents Jim and Sandy as a couple, as what we're doing together as well as individually, and how we're bringing those two together and taking this journey together. And we're taking our friends with us. We're both exploring our passions and bringing that into our lives, into making it a reality.
Absolutely. And Soar and Pair will be soaring together. So we kind of like that, Soarin' for Sorensen, but it's really soaring. We're looking to soar, to jump off that ledge of our limits, right?
As if the net's already there.
Ooh. And I wanted to just briefly touch on why not ... together.
Yeah, the ... .'s really important to him.
Well, it is because you fill in the blank. Why not do a podcast together?
Right.
Why not live together? Love, when we were first, as some of you heard in episode 1, our story, why not take the plunge and get together even when everything around us was saying, what are you doing, you crazy people, you?
Yeah.
So I think that's really the impetus, is how we can together explore new adventures, both individually as well as a couple together, because we aren't this codependent, oh my gosh, I can't watch TV without you, and I can't have a drink of my tea without you trying it first, and where my thought ends, yours begins, all that.
Even though we do some of those things, not like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it sort of makes let's shake that off.
Shake that off, yes.
So that kind of overkill of that, because really, I think the key to a successful relationship, and God knows we're trying, but we're certainly not advertising that we're there, but as a key to successful relationship is enjoying each other's company together while honoring our individual
being
paths.
Together because we want to be, not because either of us need to be.
Or it's in our contract to, spend so many hours in front of the TV or shopping with you at Home Depot. She loves Home Depot more than I do. I know
the smell.
The smell?
The smell. I know it's weird. I know.
Pray tell, what does Home Depot smell like?
It smells like projects.
I didn't know project had a smell.
Yeah, the wood and the...
Well, the manure has a smell.
Yeah, it does.
That smells.
I actually don't mind the farm smell either. That makes me kind of weird, but yeah.
And as proof of that, we came home with a lot of potty mix and,
yeah,
because, after this episode,
we're going to plant wildflowers.
We're going to plant wildflowers in our backyard, which is something we haven't done together.
Yeah.
Again, why not plant wildflowers together?
Yeah.
Something that we haven't done yet.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got this space underneath the kitchen window that is just begging for something. And we ripped out a tree that was leaving little red leaves everywhere.
And that was dangerous to our health. It had these
gosh.
spikes that were this long, and I don't know how many times I hurt myself.
Everything here just bites. But yeah, so we took that out, and because I would cut it down to a nub, and within a few months it was scraping the windows again, driving us nuts. So yeah, we got rid of that, and we're going to put wildflowers in there to attract the butterflies and the hummingbirds, and it's right by the pool, so it'll be nice.
All we need is a rainbow and a leprechaun, and we'll have just a beautiful little storybook land. Maybe like Disneyland, we'll get the little miniature figures.
Imagination.
Oh, she's going to SpongeBob.
I'm going SpongeBob.
Yes, she usually goes SpongeBob.
Yeah.
So this last week, before we get into our theme this last week, or yesterday I should say,
yes,
I did my second piano neighborhood concert But here was the rub, okay? We had some technical issues, and the concert went sideways. For those on the podcast, we're kind of... So everybody had to lay down and see it on their phone. You know,
and we're getting all these texts, turn your phone. The thing that people didn't understand is we have 2 tripods. My daughter was here, thank you, Shaylin, helping us.
Yeah, Shaylin.
And so she was managing one, I'm doing the other, and they're both on tripods. You can't flip it. And so we actually took that little intermission to say technical difficulty, we're going to try to fix this, and it wouldn't flip. So we didn't have that trouble with the first one. I'm not sure what the heck I did, but I take responsibility.
Well, we're going to blame it on Facebook.
Let's do that.
Let's blame it on Facebook because we really didn't do anything differently. The first concert, we put the phone in the same exact position. We didn't change anything. We were trying to brainstorm afterwards. What did we do?
Yeah.
So when I'm watching it and we got a newer TV, so it hooks to the TV, and here I am. It looks like I'm going down with the Titanic on the piano, bolted to the floor, playing vertically.
Yes.
And after about 20 minutes, I couldn't stand watching it anymore. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it was pretty annoying. And, I know if you're using a phone that you could just lock your phone and watch it that way. But for people who were using it on a tablet or a TV, yeah. So thank you guys for being so understanding, because we did get some texts that, oh, no problem, we just did this or that. But I do apologize because I know it was kind of frustrating to watch.
We had to go with it, though. I mean, at first I did the first 2 pieces. We stopped. We said technical difficulties, and started again, and nothing had changed. And we just decided to just, what? It's more. I
had my daughter here who knows how to do this stuff, and she couldn't figure it out. So we said
we just did the rest of the concert, and I just got over it, and was able to play. And I didn't think there'd be a whole lot of people outside because it was 20 degrees hotter than the concert 2 weeks ago. So it was in the 90s when we started, and yet we had a small handful of people. I want to give a shout out to Cindy and Rob who showed up.
It's great to see them.
Of course, Jane was there, the neighbor 2 doors down that came up with this idea about a month ago, and Larry and Phyllis, Jim and Lily, and a couple new neighbors we met for the first time.
We're still learning names, but we're getting to know faces.
But it's been so awesome. It really was a very emotional concert.
It was.
We kind of surprised you. I sang an original song that I wrote for our vows at our wedding, Yours Forevermore. First time I had performed it to her in public since the November wedding.
It was beautiful, I'll tell you what, but on our wedding day, to be standing at the altar crying.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I love you, but oh my gosh.
So that, also honoring and remembering my son Jimmy, as well as a good coworker Tim Kiernan, who in his young 30s, I worked with him for several years, passed away from cancer just 2 weeks ago. And then I also sang for the first time a couple original songs. Something called Broken Dreams, which I actually put on my YouTube channel this morning. So if you want to hear it, you could either go to the concert or you could YouTube channel it.
You wrote that one while you were down with a broken ankle.
Correct. And then one more plug of my music, and then we'll get to the podcast. Sorry. I'm just so excited. I'm kind of riding the high of the concert, but also wrote an original instrumental piece called Friendship Call. And that one dedicated to my friend Scott Tucker in China, who was a childhood friend from 45 years ago, and then to a brand new friend that I met through Facebook who was in South Africa, actually from Malawi, named Frank. So those 2 individuals, I wrote this instrumental song, and I'm also going to record it tonight for the YouTube channel. It'll be probably on there tomorrow. So a lot of good things came out of the concert, and even though it wasn't perfect, even though it was sideways, I called it the concert that went sideways.
It went sideways. It did.
But the music, the feeling, everything was there, and I think people, felt it, which is really what we're getting into in May. Mm-hmm. Talking about Lee Harris. So why don't we switch to that?
Right. So last week we had touched on Lee Harris and how he's somebody that I like to follow. He does energy updates every month, and he's got a lot of followers. But he had spoke to
He doesn't offer them Kool-Aid or anything, though, right? I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
What?
I just
Where are you going?
I just came from left field. You know, the cult thing.
Oh.
No, Lee Harris is a great guy. He doesn't have a I just. Sorry about that.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I know.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Anyway, Lee Harris
Sorry,
is a great
Lee.
guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
he would laugh at that. I'm sure he would.
Anyway, last week we talked about how the pieces that we specifically honed in on were life review and connections and past relationships, and how those come up for review during this whole time of COVID, the different emotions and feelings that we're all going through, right?
Yes.
So the day after we had taped this, our episode,
Episode 6.
I get a call from my ex-husband, or actually a text, and he said he would like to have a clarifying conversation with me.
Clearing conversation.
Clearing, thank you. A clearing conversation. He's doing a leadership seminar, 4-month-long type thing. And this was something for his healing and to move forward. And I just really applaud him for this. When I first got the text, I had to sit with it for a minute. And of course, all these things are going through my mind of
Bringing up stuff for you,
Oh,
right?
completely, of course.
Yeah.
And I told him as much, and he's like, yeah, I figured. But I just really applaud him for having the courage to do that, first of all, to reach out and, just say his piece and get those clarifying answers that he needed, which I think was very healing for both of us. We didn't hit everything by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a good start. And he was here.
Yeah, I want to applaud him too, because when I broke my ankle, he found out about it, obviously through Andrew, oldest
Or
child,
Shay,
and
one
Shay.
of them. Yeah.
And he reached out to me, and I hadn't heard from him in 8+ years directly, probably since the whole thing happened 9 years ago.
Right.
And he sent me a text saying, I'm really sorry to hear that, and I'm really wishing you the best. And that, I was pretty down at the time, and that really meant a lot, because I could tell it was sincere. And I thought, you know what, that just means a lot, because there's been a big rift
Yeah.
for a long time. I didn't expect that. And then when he was at our house about 3 weeks ago, I don't remember, he came up and he was sitting on the couch, and he came up and, are you feeling better? And gave me a big bear hug. And I applaud the fact that he's mending fences.
Yeah.
And letting bygones be bygones, because it was a rough time for all of us. And I honestly, at the time, I don't think either of us blamed him for his reaction. No. I think if I were in those shoes, I would have been just as mad.
Yeah.
Especially if it had to do with you. I'd be like, what? So it just felt really good to have him reach out that way, even before this clearing conversation with you, which goes a little deeper.
Yeah.
He had already mended fences, I think, with me in a very sincere and clear way.
I think it's a good start for sure. Taking the time to really, and this is what I'm getting at, is, these are the things that are coming up for people, and taking the opportunity to have the difficult conversations and to go deep is huge. I'm not even sure how far to go with that.
Well, and I don't, I don't feel like you have to go into details, but maybe I could ask you, how did it make you feel to have kind of a deeper dive of a conversation than just a superficial, oh, how are you, because you've had a few. So how did that affect you?
That's a good question. At the time, it felt good to be able to say a few of the things, because the things we touched on without stepping on his privacy is things that will help him moving forward also in his relationships. And for me, it felt good to be able to say what I needed to say, just in a very candid, upfront way,
It's just-
without hurting anybody.
Right.
You know, just to be able to find that healing ground between us.
and you got emotional too.
I did. We both did.
Right.
Yeah, we both did. And I think throughout the week, it has continued to kind of settle through me.
And where you are with it today? Let me just ask you that.
Yeah, today I'm in a good place with it, I think. I think different things are coming up, of course, because one thing leads to another. But I think it's been very healing for me to have that opportunity to just say what I needed to.
And let me ask you one more thing about it. Did you have to go through every minutia of everything that ever happened wrong? Was that necessary to take that deep of a dive?
No,
Or,
that's exactly where I didn't want to go.
right,
I mean, what is the point or the benefit
hmm
of rehashing and taking that deep dive through the weeds of everything that ever went wrong?
because from your point of view, you could have seen it this way, and he still sees it that way, and then it starts to,
Yeah,
you start to like recreate the hard feelings that were there,
Right.
and that's not the purpose of the
No.
clearing conversation, is it?
no. He was able to bring forward a few of the things that were truly problems between us.
Okay,
Um,
like a high overview
yeah,
without getting into the,
yeah.
remember the time,
Yeah, none of that. No, it was more of, this was my issue, this might have been yours. And, finding agreement with that and just speaking to it, I think, really was able to, when you're able to speak to something and really bring it forward, that's what brings healing.
that makes sense. So,
Does it?
yeah,
Yeah.
so instead of diving in, I think we talked about this last week, wallowing in, the difference between still feeling like a victim and accusing the person in the clearing conversation, you did this to me,
Right.
which to me reinforces those feelings. It was like, hey, this is what happened between us. And I think you even told me we were better friends than we were partners. We always
Yeah.
have been.
Yeah.
And I think that allows you both to move forward in a great way.
Exactly, because the friendship there is something I've always cherished,
Right.
and I mean, I'll always love him, but it wasn't the best as a marriage. We weren't good for each other in that way. And so, I'm hoping that this allows him to move forward in his current marriage and be able to heal and not carry. I think that's the problem too, is we carry the same crap with us from one relationship to the next, and then we wonder why things don't change. Right? So if you're able to take that dive and be honest with yourself to really look at it, then that's where healing can begin, and he doesn't have to repeat it.
Exactly.
And neither do I.
And I'm really, honestly, as a outsider observer, if you will, even though I'm really happy for both of you. I think I know that's been good for you.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy for Todd, because I really think he's also, and I give him props. And so I really think that for both of you, and he and his marriage and our marriage, can move on without that undercurrent of, mending fences from a
Of
clear,
unspoken words,
right.
of the unspoken hurts
So
and questions.
let me shift
Yeah.
gears and ask you another tough question.
Okay.
What about a clearing conversation you're not able to have with, and we're not talking about your ex now, with other people that have been close in your life,
Like my family.
like your family?
Yeah, that's
what,
different.
Yeah, so how do you heal without having this kind of conversation? Because not all of us, I applaud you both again. You both were in a place to be able to have that and help each other move, but that doesn't occur with a lot of people who will never change for whatever reason.
Like your ex.
Yes. His sister, and I think he would agree, would absolutely never be able to change. Some people are just incapable.
Yeah.
And I say that without judgment. It's just they're not capable. They're just so self-absorbed and so, in their own space. So, in my case, really quick, if I could answer this, and then I want you to speak about your family.
Yeah.
So, I didn't have a clearing conversation
Right.
with my ex, and she has passed away. What do I do with that? Do I hold on to all this bitterness? Do I, and to me, I had the clearing conversation with her mentally.
Perfect.
Mentally, like,
Yes.
And I don't know what, she didn't speak back to me, by the way. There are no
Okay.
voices in my head, thank goodness.
Good to know.
But to be able to at least say my piece. I know
Yeah.
some people say write a letter, what have you. I just, to where I got to the point where it was just, I don't know what's going on, but I'm just sending her the best.
Right.
And not really obsessing and thinking anymore. And I was able, I think, it took time. I was able to sort of create a healing for myself, even though she wasn't at all a participant in a clearing conversation like you had with her brother.
Yeah, and that's very similar to what I'm doing with my family.
Okay.
Specifically my mom, especially my mom.
Okay.
My mother is one of those people who, we'll get into narcissism later.
Sounds like we're getting into it a little now.
Yeah. Yeah, it took me a long time to recognize the whole narcissism and codependent roles, and that's a different topic actually. But
well, with blood family, it's tougher though,
it
because
is.
It's your mother.
Yeah.
It's your siblings.
Therefore, you're supposed to.
So you're
put up with the crap.
obligated. Yes.
No, you're not. It took me a while to come up with that one, but yeah. And so, at the risk of sounding really harsh, what I'm doing is grieving my mother's transition before she transitions. Because that relationship for us, is gone. And it did take a long time to get to this point. I struggled with, do I try to mend these fences? How do I do this? And it finally, the last time I saw her, she was such a bitter shell of a woman. I realized I'm not going to be able to get in. I tried.
Right.
And so for me, at this point, it's about loving her for who she was, and forgiving myself for my role in it, as well as her, and just sending love and calling it good. And unfortunately, that is hard because there's only so much you can do with that.
Right.
But yeah.
What was the turning point for you? Because when we first got together, and your mom would come over and stuff, and I would just see, you get frustrated the longer she was there as she talked. It just was this, when you're in a relationship with an individual, whether it's parents, siblings, or partners that just start pushing your buttons, not because they're saying anything mean, but just who they are, just gets you so riled up. And so I used to see that, and it was almost like involuntary. You couldn't help yourself.
I couldn't. That's where the narcissism would come in, because she would play this role of the pity party, the poor me, and just like a overgrown child needing attention.
Right.
If it wasn't about her, it always had to come back to her. And so I finally just same with my sisters. I'm done with that. The toxic relationships in my life, I'm ready to let go of. And that's unfortunate because for family, it's not supposed to work out that way. But I also finally came to realize just because my mother gave birth to me doesn't make me obligated to put up with her shit.
Wow. I mean, and that to me is a huge statement because because how do you, you could say that all day long, but how do you really get to that point?
Takes time. Yeah.
Right. Because some of us I had great parents. I talked about last week, though, obviously I had some childhood issues, wasn't perfect, but you struggled with somebody who was very, very difficult to grow up with. And it created not getting into the details, but it created a lot of not so great memories for you
Oh,
growing up through your teenage years, and one of the reasons you got married at 16,
I
right?
couldn't wait to get out.
I mean,
Well, yeah, to create more of a friend out of a daughter instead of being the parent. And we could go down a deep rabbit hole with that one.
but again, just like before, it's not necessary to dive into that because I
No.
think at that point you're just
Rehashing,
right.
and I really don't want to keep reliving it. To me, it did take a long time, as you well know, but by degrees over the years, it's about reclaiming my space and being happy enough with who I am and where I am that I don't have to keep reliving it.
What was the turning point for you? I think that's I asked you that, and then I went off on another subject. But what finally got you from, it just almost like a thorn stuck in your side to finally going, you know what, I'm done. What was that turning point? Because there was probably a lot of
It
people
was
out
gradual.
there. Yeah. So I mean, what would you tell someone who's like stuck in the middle of a toxic relationship, either with their parents or family, and can't seem to unstick themselves? What advice would you give them? Not that you figured it all out either. I'm not saying you have, but I see you've gotten to a better place, and I know you've been working on it. So, what would you say? Loaded question.
It's a very loaded question. I don't know if there's an easy answer to that one.
But for you, what was the turning point?
I'm not sure I'm willing to talk about that yet.
Okay.
On camera.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, that's not one that I think we should go into right now.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah. What I would tell people would be honor yourself and where you are, and just because someone gave birth to you or sired you doesn't mean that you're obligated to them. That the respect goes both ways, especially, as you've gone through your life and come into adulthood, that role should become more equal. And when it isn't reciprocated, when the narcissism is so prevalent, you have to come to a point that you make that decision. And it's not an easy one,
Right.
but it's, for me, was required in order for me to move on. Otherwise, I was going to keep regurgitating the same lessons.
Right, and I give you a lot of props because I know how much of a struggle this has been.
It has.
And emotional, especially around the holidays.
Yeah. It's interesting though. There's times, of course, but for what I miss, what I've gained is so much more.
Me. Sorry.
And me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And, not having the drama or the constant drama I don't miss that at all.
Well, and isn't it the same thing, like if you have a friend that is constantly draining you or dragging you down, at some point...
Doesn't mean you stop loving them, and I really want to be clear about that.
Okay, good.
It doesn't mean that the love is gone, or that I automatically forgot the good times, because there were plenty.
Sure.
And those are the things I'm choosing to keep. The rest of it, not anymore.
And that's probably how you clear the decks so that you don't hang on to the bitterness, right? Because it's not just saying, I don't want to talk to you anymore, and yet feeling all that resentment.
Right. And, I spoke with a really good friend who, when I was struggling with this, do I mend the fences? Do I not mend the fences? And some good advice she gave me was basically what we said was, just because somebody gave birth to you doesn't give them the right to treat you this way. And, you know, just to stand in your own personal power and to be okay with that, and to send love and forgiveness, but with boundaries. And I guess that's where I am now, and that's another clarifying conversation. It's just coming to terms with the fact that that conversation won't take place, and being okay with that. And I think I am.
So that
Doesn't mean I won't feel it when she does transition.
right, but you're already lightening your load.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to wait till somebody dies
No.
to have that. And you've been a hospice nurse.
Yeah.
So you've seen a lot of families.
Yeah.
At that moment where that person is about to die, either express regret or happiness. You've seen different
Fear.
family dynamics, fear.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of waiting for that moment,
I'm doing it now. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, that relationship has already died. So going through the grief of it now doesn't matter if the person's still here or not. The relationship is dead.
True. And isn't it true that even people who have died but we're still holding on to stuff? So it's almost secondary whether they're physically here or not. It's what's going on inside of us that we're responsible for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I see you doing.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I see you doing.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to feel it when she does transition.
Of course.
But it just means that I'm kind of coming to terms with it now. So I don't know if I really answered your question, but I hope I did.
Well, and I don't really know what I wanted for the answer, so I don't think yes, you did, no, you didn't. I think my purpose, because honestly, let's just say honestly to everybody, you were hesitant about talking about this.
Yeah, and there are some things, just not that I'm holding back completely, but there's some things that I'm not comfortable speaking to simply because it's not my place to speak to other people's stuff.
Right.
And so just out of respect for some of the people involved, I just would rather not go there,
And I'm glad you didn't. I wasn't trying to get you there, by the way. What I was really more focused on, and what I think we all should be focused on, is our responsibility, our reaction, how we're feeling now. Because if we're constantly saying, well, you made me feel.
Right. Exactly.
You made me feel.
Yeah, nobody has the power. I think that's the other thing, because I'm going to touch on one thing is
Sure.
Growing up with a classic narcissist. You can't just say you're a narcissist, it's your fault. No, it takes a codependent for a narcissist to have a platform.
Mm-hmm.
So my role, my responsibility in that is being the doormat of the codependent and allowing that behavior. And so I had to take responsibility for that and look at some pretty ugly truths in myself that I needed to change for me.
And I'm glad you said that, because I think, going back to what I said about not having a clearing conversation with my ex, with Todd's sister, I had to look at my part in it. I think part of the healing is realizing that you can't just throw blame mentally at the other person and go, it was all them, I didn't do anything.
It never is.
It isn't. So to claim responsibility without guilt, to claim responsibility without feeling down and just realizing these were lessons, I think is a very healthy thing to do.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I am grateful to my ex-husband for bringing this to me and giving me the opportunity to talk to him about it. And I think it was very good for him too. And so to bring that full circle, I think there was a good lesson in it for both of us.
And I do want to end the segment with a quote that I really like. I'm going to paraphrase it from the Course in Miracles, that trials are but lessons presented to you once again. Where you made a faulty choice, you can make a better choice now.
I love that.
Isn't that cool?
That's so perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. I know that
Yeah.
wasn't easy, but good job.
Thank you.
Good job. So let's go to something a little lighter,
Please.
like a Sandyism.
Oh, geez. Okay. Do tell.
So there's so many to choose from. Don't knock over our
I
whole
know.
table here. This will be a blooper moment, right?
Yeah.
On our YouTube channel. Stuck on stupid. It's one of my favorite things. So when do you use stuck on stupid, or how do you use that phrase?
Stuck on often.
Yes.
Stuck on. I know.
For both of us, not just.
When you make a mistake on something repeatedly, or can't remember something, or how many ways?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's almost like
Having an airhead moment.
yes.
Yeah.
Stuck on stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of us have probably had quite a few of those lately. Been stuck on stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so descriptive. I like the descriptive ones.
Yes, that's why I call them Sandyisms, because you can just see somebody stuck on stupid.
Yeah.
Not knowing how to get out of that stupidity
Yeah.
merry-go-round.
Exactly.
So yes, all of us can relate to being stuck on stupid.
Yeah, one time or another, right?
So this is for everybody's vocabulary, stuck on stupid. Just like last week's checking yourself at the door.
Right.
So.
Okay, so for the pun.
Oh gosh, I'm a little nervous. My performance from last week from a 1 to 10 was like a 0.5. It was horrible.
You think?
I drew a blank, so I'm actually a little nervous right now. I don't know what you're gonna throw at me.
Okay.
And so be kind. Like pick something really easy.
How about a clearing conversation?
A clearing conversation. Well, let's talk about this, because I really think that I'm speechless, and I
so good at these, you guys.
I don't know what to say. Yes, I'm great until you put me on the spot on our YouTube channel. One of these times I will actually sound like I am a little more punny than I think I am. Maybe we gotta rethink this segment a little bit. Because, it's just, I'm not projecting very well.
Oh, yes, you
Yeah, well, I'm struggling.
are. Okay.
I'm struggling, so. Yeah, I know.
Okay. So, you want to talk about our platforms?
Yes, so just to make sure everybody understands, you can watch us on our YouTube channel, and we please, subscribe, and we appreciate the comments. Lori makes a lot of comments. We appreciate that, Lori.
Yes.
As well
Love
as
you, Lori.
other folks have, and so the comments, we really sort of a back and forth conversation. We also have our Soar and Pair Facebook page, which we post on daily. We post the concerts, pictures of ourselves, and so that's another way to get to know us. And then if you don't want to see us so much, you want to hear us, we are on a lot of podcast platforms now, so we're really excited. You can see the picture of our shadow selves kissing, Soar and Pair, Why Not Together, on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, Overcast, Podcast
They're
app.
adding up.
So yeah, they're out there,
Nice.
and all the episodes, and so you can just listen to us if you want to hear our words of wisdom, or listen to us laugh, which, we try to be cognizant of both platforms, both of the YouTube channel and the podcast, so that that way, the listeners are understanding that you're making a goofy face at me right now, or what have you.
Right.
So we really appreciate and ask you to follow us, to give us suggestions. We're open to that, because as we continue to grow as in this endeavor, we really want to connect with our audience through the Facebook, through our YouTube, as well as through the podcast. So reach out to us, let us know. We love comments and feedback, and we appreciate all the attention. We're excited on this journey, and
Yes.
again, why not together? Why not try all these things and see where we land. We don't have any expectations.
Exactly.
We're just sort of cruising. What did you say? Cruising in the EAC? Just like Crush.
Righteous!
Just like Crush and Finding Nemo. Exactly. So we appreciate your time today. I hope you enjoyed
Thank you.
episode 7, and we will see you next week. Be well, be safe, and take care of yourselves.
Take care. Thank you for
Thanks.
taking the ride with us.